Hi, welcome once again to my channel Murali's World of Physics. We will continue our discussions on symmetry. In the previous video, we had discussed symmetries in nature. Now, in this video, I will be discussing symmetries in physics and the role of mathematics in these symmetries. In this context, I would like to mention the name of Dr. T.N. Vasudevan, our dearest colleague and best friend. He is no more. He was the dearest model teacher of the student community and one of our dearest friends for the teaching fraternity. His deep interest in symmetry and music has been well known among his students and the teaching community. I dedicate this video in the loving memory of Dr. T.N. Vasudevan. When we consider the topic of symmetries in physics and the role of mathematics in these symmetries, we find that the term symmetry has a much more deeper meaning and implications other than the mere aesthetic sense of beauty that we saw in our previous video. In fact, we will need a more formal and precise definition of the term symmetry. Now, before seeing that formal definition of symmetry, let us see what exactly is a symmetry transformation or a symmetry operation. A symmetry transformation or operation is an action that is performed on a physical object or a physical system. It is such that when that transformation is applied on the system, the physical object or the system remains exactly identical to the original in terms of the geometrical shape and size, and many times optionally any other features like color, etc.
Every symmetry transformation or operation has associated with it what is known as a symmetry element. A symmetry element is usually a geometric entity about which the symmetry operation is carried out, and the physical object remains unaltered in shape, size, and any other optional features like color, etc. The most common symmetry elements are the point, the line, and the plane. For example, a circle, when rotated by 180 degrees about any of its diameters, remains unchanged. Here, the symmetry operation is rotation by 180 degrees about the diameter, and the symmetry element associated with this transformation is the diameter.
This figure illustrates the operation of inversion through what is known as the center of inversion. We have the original image or object here, and then it is inverted through this center of inversion. This involves taking each point in the original to a diametrically opposite point on the other side of the center of inversion. So here, after the inversion operation is carried out, the point 1 goes to the point 1 here through this center of inversion, the point 2 goes to point 2 here, and so on. So after the inversion operation is carried out, you can see that the original object is exactly identical to the inverted image. So this is inversion symmetry. This is an illustration of reflection symmetry. We have a plane mirror here which represents the plane of symmetry, which is the symmetry element in this case, and I have placed a ball here. So when we see the reflection inside the mirror, that looks exactly identical to the original ball. So this is reflection symmetry.
Probably the most obvious and seemingly trivial symmetries of all are what are known as translational symmetries. There are two categories: translational symmetry in space and translational symmetry in time. Although seemingly trivial, these symmetries have profound implications and far-reaching consequences. When an object undergoes a change of location from one place to another without any other changes, that means without reflection or rotation, if it remains invariant, we say it is symmetric under space translation. Neither the distances between points nor the angles between given lines inside the object change. A simple example of translational symmetry is that of a book. Suppose it is first kept at a particular location. These are the XY coordinates of that book. Now suppose I translate this. I take this book and keep it somewhere else at a different set of coordinates. It will look exactly identical. So this is translational symmetry. Or consider a longer gap between the two locations. Let's say the book is in India or in America. It will look exactly the same. This translational symmetry has profound and deeper implications. Namely, that the laws of physics are the same here on our earth and at a place at the far end of the universe. Let's see if the things were not like this. What will happen? Otherwise, we may not be able to draw conclusions regarding the heavenly bodies by making experiments and observations here on the earth. When an object is observed at two different times, which are separated by a finite period of time, it remains identical to the original, provided nothing has been done to it altering it in any other way. We say that the object is invariant under time translational symmetry operation, which is nothing but adding a finite time to the time, like this. So this is that book seen in the year 1685 and the same book seen in 2021. So it is something like time journey. The book will look exactly identical. Of course, in between, nothing might have happened to alter either the shape, size or any other properties of that book. What is the deeper implications here? The laws of physics are the same irrespective of the time at which we study them. Or in other words, they are the same now as they were in Newton's times. These symmetries are crucial for understanding science, especially physics. If the laws of nature were not symmetrical, there would be no hope of ever discovering them. Because by the time that we study a particular phenomenon or process, which may take some time, the laws might have changed. So then it will be difficult to know what exactly is the nature of those forces or objects or systems. In a universe where the natural laws were not symmetrical, experimental results might change depending on where and when and in what direction an experiment was performed. In fact, symmetry is so integral to the way the universe works that the famous scientist Albert Einstein used it as a guiding principle when he devised his general theory of relativity. He firmly believed that the laws of physics should be the same for all observers, regardless of how they were moving or how they are situated. Through various thought experiments, he discovered a fundamental symmetry in nature called the general covariance. Under this symmetry, physical laws act the same way regardless of whether an object is accelerating or not. In other words, the force of gravity and the force resulting from acceleration of an object are the two facets of the same force. That is, they are symmetrical. Whenever I think of symmetries in physics, the first thing that comes to my mind is the symmetry of molecules. For example, consider the hydrogen molecule, which contains a single oxygen atom and two hydrogen atoms. Now, if I consider a vertical line through the center of the oxygen atom and then I rotate this molecule through 180 degrees, it's going to look exactly identical. So here the symmetry operation is rotation by 180 degrees and the symmetry element is this line, which we can call the axis of symmetry. There are several other examples of symmetric molecules like ethane. Molecular symmetry reflects the basic nature of the intermolecular forces acting on the atoms in the molecule.
Crystals form another class of physical objects which can be cited as good examples of physical objects which exhibit beautiful symmetries. they have an ordered internal arrangement of atoms. This ordered arrangement shows symmetry. That is, the atoms are arranged in a symmetrical fashion on a three-dimensional network referred to as a lattice. To see this, let's first imagine a small two-dimensional crystal composed of atoms in an ordered internal arrangement as shown below. Although all of these atoms are identical, one of them is colored with gray so that we can keep track of the position. Now if we rotate this through 90 degrees, then we get this arrangement, which is equivalent to the first arrangement. Again, one more rotation takes it to a pattern like this, which again is similar to the original. So like that, we continue the rotation by 90 degrees twice more, and finally we arrive at the same pattern as we had initially. In fact, all these 5 images are identical. So that means this particular crystal structure is symmetric under rotation through 90 degrees about an axis perpendicular to the plane of the crystal. Here we have further examples of symmetric crystal structures. The diamond structure, the crystal structure of sodium chloride, this is the quartz crystal structure. As far as crystals are concerned, the 3 important symmetry operations are rotation about an axis, reflection with respect to a plane, and inversion through a point. Any discussion of the symmetry of molecules and crystals will lead us to the mathematical concept of groups. Here we see one of the several instances wherein the mathematical concepts and principles are applied in a natural way into any discussion of symmetries in physics. Mathematically, a group is a set of elements which have some common properties and obey some general rules. A group G is a finite or infinite set of elements together with a binary operation which is called the group operation that together satisfy the 4 fundamental properties of closure, associativity, identity property, and inverse property. The elements, for example, A, B, C, etc., with binary operation between A and B is denoted as AB. So these elements will form a group if it satisfies 4 important fundamental properties. These properties are closure. What do you mean by closure? If we consider 2 elements A and B in the group G, then the product AB is also an element of G. Second is the associativity property. The defined multiplication or operation is associative. That is, for all elements in the group, AB in brackets into C is equal to A into B into C. That means the order in which the operation is applied between say these 3 operations A, B, C is not important. So if you perform A, B first and then do the operation with C, that will be equivalent to A being operated with the result of the operation of B and C first. Then it's required that there is what is known as an identity operator I, which is also represented in other fashions are 1 or E, such that the operational result of I with A in that order is the same as A with I in the reverse order, which is equivalent to A, because that is the defining property of the identity element. This should be true for all the elements in G. Also, there should exist an entity called the inverse of any element or reciprocal. That means for each element A of G, the set contains an element B represented by A inverse, such that A inverse is equal to A inverse A, which is equal to the identity operator I, identity element I. The idea of group made possible a clear and precise definition of symmetry as invariance under a group of transformation. Now, molecules and crystals can be classified into different symmetry groups depending on the symmetry operations obeyed by them and the corresponding symmetry element. Not only do the molecules have specific symmetries, but so also do their ultimate constituents, namely the atoms and nuclei also exhibit similar symmetries. For example, look at the images of some of the orbitals inside
the atoms. For example, the s orbital, which is perfectly spherically symmetric, and the p orbitals, p minus 1, p0 and p1, which are their own individual symmetry. Similarly, many nuclei are spherical in shape inherently. Of course, I'm talking about the ground states. The excited states, of course, may have deformed shapes. Many other nuclei are deformed in their ground states, but many of them are symmetric. For example, the prolyte nuclei, the oblate nuclei, then prolyte plus hexadeca deformation, and non-axial quadrupole deformation, etc. Now here we see the entry of mathematical concepts and principles into the discussion of symmetry. Of course, we have seen one instance earlier, that is in the form of the mathematical group. Now here we have what are called spherical harmonic functions. These are special mathematical functions which depend on the polar angle theta and the azimuthal angle phi. A deformed nucleus can be well described by the mathematical expression r theta phi is equal to r0 into 1 plus summation over lambda ranging from 0 to infinity, summation over mu ranging from minus lambda to lambda of some coefficient a lambda mu multiplied by the spherical harmonic. Here theta and phi are the polar and azimuthal angles, and y lambda mu are the mathematical functions called spherical harmonic. A spherical nucleus will be described by the first spherical harmonic y00, which is independent of the angles. Various deformed and symmetric nuclear shapes are obtained by appropriate weighted combinations of the spherical harmonics of different orders. Here we see the symmetry of the spherical harmonic of various orders. Y00, which is spherical, and the other deformed shapes y10, y20, y21, y30 and y31.
Now we examine the role of symmetries in the field of quantum mechanics. Here, one important concept is that of parity transformation represented by the operator P. The effect of P operating on any point x, y, z in the object is to replace the coordinates x, y and z by their respective additive inverses, that is minus x, minus y and minus z. That is, P operating on the characteristic function representing the system, that is psi, which is a function of x, y, z and time t. So P operating on psi will give the result as psi of minus x, minus y, minus z t. Here I have illustrated the parity operation, which is also called inversion. Now the point P, when we apply the parity operation, changes to the diametrically opposite point P prime, which has the coordinates minus x, minus y, minus z. Now this parity operation preserves the distance of the point P from the origin. That means this distance r is the same as this distance r. That is the parity operation. Suppose we apply the operator twice on the wave function. We should expect that operation to give back the original function psi itself. That means P operating on P of psi should be equal to psi itself. Now in mathematics, the eigenvalue equation for the operator P is P psi is equal to lambda psi, where lambda is the eigenvalue. So from this, if we apply the operator P to this P psi once again, we get P square psi is equal to lambda square psi, because P psi is lambda psi, and once again if we apply that, we get lambda square psi, which means comparing with this equation, we see that lambda square should be equal to 1, or in other words, the eigenvalues of the parity operator are lambda is equal to plus or minus 1. The eigenfunctions with plus 1 as eigenvalues are called symmetric, and those with minus 1 as the eigenvalue are called antisymmetric. We say that the parity of the physical system is even when lambda is plus 1 or odd when lambda is equal to minus 1. Parity has profound influence on the physical processes involving the system. The process will take place only if the initial and final states of the system satisfies parity requirements of the interaction responsible for the process. This in turn will dictate the selection rules for the process. For many quantum systems, the spherical harmonics form the angular part of the wave function. Here the parameter lambda is nothing but the angular momentum quantum number L, and mu will be its projection m onto the symmetry axis. These functions have definite property of symmetry depending on the values of the quantum numbers. In terms of the spherical angles, parity transformation transforms a point with coordinates theta phi, that means the polar angle theta and the azimuthal angle phi, to the corresponding values pi minus theta and pi plus phi. The statement of parity of spherical harmonics is then YLM theta phi goes to YLM pi minus theta pi plus phi, and that is given by minus 1 raised to L YLM theta phi. Thus, we see that the states with even L values have even parity and those with odd L values have odd parities. Now, we will consider the connection between symmetries and conservation laws. A conservation law states that some quantity x describing a system remains constant throughout its motion. Expressed mathematically, the rate of change of x, that means its derivative with respect to time, is 0. That means dx by dt is equal to 0. Such quantities are said to be conserved. They are often called constants of motion. Conserved quantities imply that some underlying symmetry enjoyed by the interactions. In other words, symmetries in a system lead to conserved quantities. Some of the important classical space-time symmetries are those of linear and angular momenta and energy. In the quantum realm, we have several others: parity, isospin, lepton number, baryon number, charge, etc. Now, there is an important fundamental theorem known as Nether's theorem, which in simple terms can be stated as any differentiable symmetry of the action of a physical system has a corresponding conservation law. Now, the term action of a physical system is an integral of a so-called function called a Lagrangian function, from which the system's behavior can be determined by the principle of least action. Now, what is actually the action? Action is defined as the time integral I of a function known as the Lagrangian L. Lagrangian L is a function of the coordinates of the system or object, their time derivatives, and explicitly or implicitly the time itself. Now, we apply the Hamilton's principle, which is an important principle and which states that the actual path taken by the physical system or particle while it is moving will be the one for which the infinitesimal variations in the path cause no changes in the integral I. This principle can be seen to result in what are called Euler-Lagrange equations. D by dt of the quantity dou L by dou Q dot is equal to dou L by dou Q. So this is valid for each of the coordinates of the system. Therefore, suppose that the Lagrangian does not contain a particular coordinate qk. That means qk does not appear explicitly in the function L. Then mathematics tells us that its derivative with respect to q should be equal to 0. And therefore, from the previous equation, we see that the time derivative of this particular quantity, dou L by dou Q dot, is equal to d by dt of some quantity pk, which is just the bracketed term here. So that should be equal to 0. That means the time derivative of this quantity should be equal to 0, which implies that this quantity will be remaining a constant throughout the motion. Now, this conserved quantity, that is dou L by dou Q dot, is the momentum corresponding to the particular coordinate qk. The absence of one coordinate qk in the Lagrangian implies that it is unaltered or unaffected by changes or transformations of the coordinate qk. In turn, this implies that L is invariant under the transformation and is said to exhibit a kind of symmetry. In fact, this is the essence of the Noether's theorem. For illustration, if a physical system behaves the same regardless of how it is oriented in space, then the Lagrangian is rotationally invariant. From the symmetry, Noether's theorem shows that the corresponding quantity, angular momentum, will be conserved. Actually, the physical system itself need not be symmetric. For example, a irregularly shaped asteroid tumbling in space is also conserving angular momentum despite its asymmetry. It is actually the laws of motion which are symmetric. As another example, if a physical experiment has the same outcome regardless of a place or time, that means having the same outcome, say in New York on Tuesday and in Calicut on Wednesday, then the Lagrangian is symmetric under the continuous translation in space and time. By Noether's theorem, these symmetries account for the conservation laws of linear momentum and energy within the system respectively. In quantum mechanics, the behavior of the system is completely described by its Hamiltonian operator H. Now there is a mathematical concept known as the commutator of two operators, which is represented by this tau. Commutator of H with A, another operator A, that is given by IH cross by dA by dt. Now H is the Planck's constant. H cross is nothing but H over 2 pi. So if A commutes with H, that means this particular commutator is equal to 0 identically, then from the right side we see that dA by dt is equal to 0 and therefore A will be a constant of the motion. Hence conservation is connected with commuting operators, and this is a clear manifestation of symmetry. God made the universe abounding with symmetries, as we have seen in our previous slides. He even blessed the coronavirus, which has been in the news recently, with the most perfect spherically symmetric shape of all. What more do we want?
I will end this video on this happy note. Goodbye.